Well, welcome. So this is welcome to the DevOps Summit. This is a talk from Vincent. Vincent is a principal engineer at Dailymotion. Vincent started his career with Hudson back in 2007. It's about the same time where I was playing around with Hudson as well, which has since gone on to Jenkins. During that time, Vincent also wrote the Jenkins Rundeck plugin. That was back in 2011. And that was to help implement continuous delivery pipelines. Then he started on Kubernetes in 2015, which is really kind of early. Unless you're a Google engineer, that's pretty early to start with Kubernetes. So he's been doing that quite a long time. And of course, that's a natural progression to get into something like Jenkins X, which he started back in 2018 when that project was, I think that project was launched in about 2018, around that time frame as well. So he's an early adopter, and he's got a good tech radar to know, what to watch out for and what are the upcoming trends. Not only is he interested in automation and these pipelines and CI/CD and DevOps, but he's also interested in the metrics, gathering metrics, and he has a lot to say on that today. So let me introduce you, Vincent. Vincent, welcome. Thank you for coming. And what do you know?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, so yeah, I think it's metrics and indicators are a natural suite to continuous delivery. So it's always been one of my topic of choice, like observability and everything in a production system, telemetry and everything around that. And another topic, of course, is continuous delivery. So when you want to go one step further with continuous delivery, you want to start collecting metrics and indicators because continuous delivery is a very important part of our system. It's what allows us to bring value to the business and bring it fast if possible. And if we need to bring it faster, to go faster to production and to the market, then we need to improve it. And of course, if we need to improve it, we need to measure it first. So that's how it comes. If you don't measure it, you won't know what to improve. So yeah, it's something I wanted to do for a few years ago when I started working on Jenkins X with Jenkins X. The first thing we wanted to do is to get some metrics out of our pipeline and system to see how switching to Jenkins X and a more modern way of doing continuous delivery based on Kubernetes and lots of good practice that are defined in the Accelerate book, for example. So we wanted to know the impact of that, but we never really took the time to add metrics to our old system. And once the migration was done, we never invested the time either to collect metrics from our new system. So we kind of knew it was better because you can feel it and so on, but we didn't have real data to prove it. And it stayed like that for months because it's a topic that always a second kind of topic, you always have something better to do or more important and something like that until the point you start working on it. Right. So that was a few months ago. And I started having a look at which kind of metrics we can and we should collect. And then starting to work on already collecting these metrics and set up visualization for that. And alerting if possible, and
which doesn't come with Jenkins X out of the box. The question is, you're not just gathering metrics related to, well, my pipeline broke, or how many tests am I running? This is a wider array of metrics, right? What type of metrics?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Basically, so it's initially. It was based on the DORA metrics. So DORA is a DevOps research. I forgot what the last one is. But Yeah, I think everybody knows the four main metrics, which are based on split in two categories, which is throughput and stability. So in the throughput category, you have in time. So how much time does it take for basically for a commit to go to production? You have the deployment frequency, of course, and in the stability topic, you have the mean time to recover and the change failure rate. So basically, we wanted to start with that because these are the four key metrics that are used to see how you are performing as a team and how you can compare yourself to other teams in the industry. Because every year there is a DevOps report which says so if you are in this number, you are an elite performer or medium performer and so on.
Measuring
So kind of the,
Mhm.
exactly. So it's kind of the minimum work we wanted to do.
Mhm.
But then it's difficult to define. Well, it's not difficult. It's an exercise everybody has to do to define what is your min lead time, because just saying that it's from commit to production is good in theory, but in practice it depends on your workflow. How do you work? Do you use pull request or not? Do you use feature flags, for example? In which case, even if it goes to production, it may not be activated. Do you use progressive deployment? And there are all kinds of things that can make it more difficult to measure or to define it precisely for your own use case. So what we did, first work was to map our workflow and to define what we wanted to measure and what we would like to improve if needed. So one of the main things one of the things that was most important for us was to define metrics that could have action associated linked to them if we wanted to improve them. So if there was one metric that we did not know how to improve, basically there is no need to collect it because you don't know what to do with it after. So I can show you a few examples.
Yeah, love to see that. Yeah.
Let me share my screen.
Excellent.
Okay, so this is from our internal wiki. It's something we did months ago, so it's not really up to date, but at least gives you an idea. So we mapped, for example, the pull request of one of our application and the events we have. Like you create your pull request, you have a build pipeline that's finishing. The pull request is marked as ready for review in GitHub, for example.
Yeah.
It's approved, it's merged, and so on, and goes to. So we're using GitHub, so we have another repository for our configuration stored in Git, which is automatically updated and so on. So we can map everything. We can say, okay, this is our time to review. That's important for us because it's part of the mean lead time. And if we notice that the mean lead time is starting to grow, we can have a look in details at the different steps, like the time to review. And you can say, okay, the time to review used to be 24 hours. Now it's 7 days, for example. Why? Maybe because it was only one guy in the team doing the review and it's on vacation, so nobody is doing review anymore. That kind of things. Maybe you have a time to merge which is slower because you have an internal system issue, things like that. So yeah, we define all these metrics. We define all the action we can take, and so on.
Time to build,
and,
time to validate. Yeah.
Yeah. And what is our mean lead time?
And so time was a big factor.
Yeah, because this is only for the throughput indicators.
Yep.
So yeah, it's one part of what we are trying to achieve. Yep. Trying to get throughput indicators and stability indicators. So that was one of the one part of the job. And there was another track which was completely different, which started around the same time, a little before, with the COVID situation we had and the full remote situation we have since 1 year now, which is that it's even more important now than it was before to know how the team are feeling the developer, and everybody in the team. And
The
so we
satisfaction.
started exactly, and we started getting data from the developer, so survey-based data, to know if everything is going well for them, how do they feel if they can work well, and so on. So we get that at the end of the sprint. And it was still two different things. And until recently, a few days ago, when I saw a very interesting article from Nicole, I never got her name right, Nicole Forsgren, which is also the author of the Accelerate book or the DevOps report.
It's a very good article. Yes.
Yeah, which is the space of developer productivity. Maybe I can show you.
Yeah, please do. This is a really good article. It's full of great information. So appreciate you sharing.
Exactly. So yeah, it's I think if you are interested in that kind of topics, developer productivity, and how to get things done, it's very interesting to read. So basically, it's a framework that group metrics. That first of all, it regroups metrics from survey metrics that you can get from your developers or everybody in the team, and also system metrics that you can collect from your systems, such as what we've been doing with Jenkins-X, but you can do it with other systems too, and split them into different categories. So let me get another
So
view of that.
SPACE is an acronym.
Exactly.
For these 5 points. Okay.
Exactly. So it's satisfaction and well-being, performance, activity, communication and collaboration, and efficiency. So basically, it gives you a quick overview of an example of what you can put in it. So developer satisfaction, the performance, for example, the code review velocity. So we are talking about time to review. Typically, it will fall into that category. The activity can be the number of pull requests, the number of release, and so on, frequency of deployment. Communication and collaboration, it will be pull request merge time. So yeah, I put code time to review in fact in communication and collaboration. How you can share knowledge. So you have things that you can collect automatically from your system, such as the time to review. But the quality of meetings, it will have to come from a survey question you ask the team members. And efficiency, how the overall flow through the system. So
one of the things that this table is bringing out is doing SPACE metrics for the process of code reviews. But the other thing that this article points out is other verticals that you want to measure with the SPACE approach. What are some examples of besides code reviews, what would be some other types of metrics you want to measure in the SPACE way of measuring things?
You can measure the release and deployment. Is that what you are referring to, for example?
Yeah, deployment. Maybe
yes.
A change request, a customer change request. Is that another measurement? Yeah.
Yes. Basically, it can be anything that part of your workflow. The way I understand it. So yes, any part of the workflow can be which can be collected and defined precisely. You can put that in a specific section of the framework, and you can use that. And the idea at the end is to merge both data from the system, collected from the system, and from the server.
Yes.
So maybe you can share an example of what the system metrics can look like. So this is just a dashboard I quickly draft this morning to do a quick demonstration. So we have data that we used to collect for a while, other that I just started collecting this morning. So not all the data is fresh. We don't have a lot of data for everything, but yeah, basically for the performance, we can see the time to release, the build duration depending on the different kind of builds. For example, the time to do an integration, to run the integration test, to run the unit test, and so on. How many release we have, how many production deployment, the time to review, for example.
Yeah.
And the release interval, which is also part of the main DevOps metrics you want to track.
Nice.
So basically, one release every 5 hours. We can see the build failure rate. So yeah, it's a work in progress, but the idea is that once you start collecting the data, you can visualize it the way you want. So there are different ways to create view for it. So maybe I can go in how we collected specifically for a Kubernetes-based solution.
Yeah.
So it's an important part, I think, of the story. It's because initially when we wanted to do that, what stopped us is that it was difficult to collect this kind of data because there are lots of different systems. So you need to input into every one of them to get metrics from the internals of the system, of the application that you can't really control, and so on.
Sure.
So it's very difficult. Now that almost everybody and almost everything is running in Kubernetes, it's so much easier because with this new model, applications are creating a custom resource in Kubernetes. We get a nice API. We can watch for events, and everything is like it's a standard API and an open interface. So let me take an example. For example, which I know quite well, it's JenkinsX. So in the initial version of JenkinsX, it used Jenkins to run the pipeline. And it had a pipeline custom resource in Kubernetes that it used to populate each time there was a pipeline running with the duration of the pipeline, success, failure, and so on. Then it switched to JenkinsX version 2, which used Tekton instead of Jenkins to run the pipeline. But the pipeline CRD stayed the same. That means if you start integrating with the JenkinsX API through the custom resource definition in Kubernetes, you can still use the same interface, even if internally it's completely different system. So that's a very good point for Kubernetes-based solution. If they are doing a good job at using custom resource, is that you get a solid API which you can interact with, and you can build integration that will last.
So not only do you have JenkinsX running on Kubernetes to do your pipelines, this metrics observability stack is also running on Kubernetes. Just for those folks that don't understand how to put all this together, this is Grafana, which is a very customizable dashboard. But what's behind the dashboard? How do you get this data? How do you collect the data? And what's holding the data?
Okay, good question. So we have, so let me, maybe I find something good. Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay.
Hey.
So yeah. So the idea is that we have our own custom collector which is a Go application, and which can collect data from the Kubernetes API or from GitHub. And everything is stored in a PostgreSQL database. So it's pretty easy. We just get the raw data and store it in Postgres. So looks
Postgres
like
it's not a time series database. You chose not to use a time series database. You chose to use a relational database, which is fine, right?
We get the release. Yeah, sorry?
Often people will collect metrics into specific types of databases called time series databases.
Yes.
So this is, you chose Postgres as a way to do that as well?
Yeah, exactly. It's very simple. So it's, yeah,
flexible.
because it's very flexible. You can do a lot of things with it. So yes, so and the good part is that it has a very nice integration with Grafana. So even if it's not a native time series database, we can still do good integration with Grafana. So yeah, so once we have all the raw data in Postgres, we can format it the way we want, query it the way we want from Grafana. We can even create a custom view if we want. And we get all the raw data in Postgres, so we can, yeah, get all the powerful feature of Postgres. And the very interesting thing with Grafana is that once you get, so of course you can do lots of integration, you can do your dashboard the way you want, but Grafana is not limited to a single data source. Of course, you can have a lot of data source, and you can mix in the same Grafana instance data source from your continuous delivery platform. So in the indicators we're getting there, but also production metrics from your production Prometheus. You can get your logs using Grafana Loki. You can get your distributed traces using Grafana Tempo. So you can build your own dashboard for your own application using all kind of data from a lot of different data sources. Yep. And we can so this is for an application. This is a generic one using the Space framework, but we can totally define a dashboard for the same application using a specific set of panel. For example, if we are only interested in the time to release or latest deployment and so on, and next to it, the logs from production, the number of HTTP requests or whatever, and yeah.
So if you wanted to bring in data from like Prometheus as part of your metrics for your cluster, you can combine the Prometheus metrics with the Postgres SQL, Postgres database, as well as other data sources, and bringing them into a dashboard like this, right? This is all custom. So the fact that it's custom must have been meant, and you also had to write some Go routines to gather the data. That's in the field, in the trenches, you have to write the code. And then those Go modules would have to send the data over to Postgres. Sounds like a lot of work to set that up. It must have been several weeks of head scratching. How do I do this, right?
That depends on your knowledge with Go. But well, for me or for us in the team, we are working with Go all the day, so and Kubernetes, so not that difficult. But once again, that depends on your knowledge with Go and everything. The good news is that if you're using Jenkins X, you won't have to do it yourself because we started open sourcing our work. Upstreaming, sending it upstream to the Jenkins X community. So we are starting with the Grafana setup with just like the raw observability stack, like Grafana and Loki and everything used to collect on Prometheus, used to collect observability, so metrics and logs from all the Jenkins X components themselves. So you can know how the different components are behaving. And then the next step is to open source our collector and bring it into Jenkins X on stack So that basically when you start a new Jenkins X instance, you get observability out of the box, both for Jenkins X own stack, so its own component, so you can get the logs directly. You can see how it's behaving the different components. So for example, the Tekton controller, cert manager controller. So you can get a dashboard to see how your certificates are behaving. And you can set up alerts if a certificate is outdated and not renewed automatically. You get continuous delivery indicators. So what I just showed, maybe using the Spice framework or display differently, whatever. And you can also use that observability stack for your own application that you're going to develop and publish using Jenkins X. So Jenkins X has a very nice feature, which is called the preview environment. Mm-hmm. So when you create a new pull request, it will deploy automatically your application in a temporary namespace in Kubernetes. So you could get all the observability for your application using the same stack and so on. So that's very nice.
You're getting a lot of things for free with the Jenkins X ecosystem. And
yeah, that's exactly. That's the philosophy behind the Jenkins X. It's to take the best. It basically defined a set of good practice, or use a set of good practice that have been already written by others, such as Accelerate book, which is a very good reference, and it applies that by gluing all the components together. So, for example, it's using Tekton to run the pipeline internally. It's using different components, Cert Manager for the. So it's doing all the work we would have to do ourselves if we wanted to set up a continuous delivery stack on Kubernetes. Mm-hmm. And the idea is to go one step further and to integrate the observability part inside Jenkins X, so that basically you can get that for free. If you don't want it, you can still disable it, but because maybe you're using something else or you are advanced enough to not need it. Yeah. But
yeah, I really I like your mentioning of the Tekton pipeline that you can actually run inside of Jenkins. We're getting a little off topic here because I know we're talking about metrics, but I like how you mentioned. One of the questions I had, and for those folks that are thinking about Jenkins X, is Jenkins itself has a domain-specific language, DSL, for the Jenkins pipelines. And I was talking to you earlier before and about this. And as well as the Jenkins pipeline, you can also decide as a DevOps engineer, saying, well, I want to use the Tekton pipeline and run Tekton inside or have Jenkins X host my Tekton pipeline. And the Tekton pipeline has its own DSL, domain-specific language. And I think one of your comments was it's a little bit more verbose, the Tekton one. So I just want to get your opinion on that.
Yes, Tekton is it's a bit too verbose in my mind, but I think for a lot of people too. Yeah. So yes, in the initial integration of Tekton inside Jenkins X, the Jenkins X developers wrote their own DSL on top of Tekton to make it easier to use. But the issue is that when you are maintaining your own DSL on top of another one, you need to sync with it, and it's a lot of extra work and so on. So instead of doing that, you can still use that, but in version 3, is you have the new default way is just to use raw Tekton, which give you access to all the Tekton feature because they are developing new feature regularly, but with shortcuts. So that you can reference tasks and steps from something else. So it's very inspired by the GitHub Action syntax. So you can say use. So if you have a step, you can say use and a different step. So it can be something from Git, something from the local file system, and so on.
It's very modular.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll try to see if I can show you an example. And the interesting part is that now it's natively inside Jenkins X, and it's being upstreamed to Tekton. So Tekton will get something like that soon, obviously.
So with that, when you bring that up,
and yeah, you will be able to write Tekton pipeline. Yes.
With Jenkins X, with the Tekton pipeline, were you writing inside the pipelines different areas where you were gathering metrics? In other words, is some of the metrics gathering code actually inside the Tekton pipelines? Anything like that?
Sorry, can you give me 1 minute? The time to
I know. Clicking and also answering questions, which is hard.
Yes, exactly. I need to find it. Maybe we can cut it at.
Yeah, maybe we'll cut out this dead space in the video. It's fine.
Yeah, I think I need 5 minutes to find it.
Okay, that's fine. Take your time. I'll alert Tom to this section. Cut this out.
It's kind of a break.
Yep.
Where is it?
How far are we into this?
Okay, I think I got it.
Yeah. I just wanted to tie in we're talking about the Tekton pipeline, but we're also talking about space-based metrics, and what kind of, how do they tie together as a topic?
Yes. I tried to move. Maybe I think the light will be better like that. I should have done that before. Okay, so we are good. Okay, we are good. I'm going to share my screen. So yeah, I found the example. So there is so it's from James Strachan, which is the initial author of Jenkins X, and he's proposing a syntax for so similar to what is used in Jenkins X to Tekton, to say, okay, you can use, so if you have a step, you can use something from Git, instead of having to write all the step, like this is that container with that command and everything. Basically, it's going to fetch from Git that file and that step and include it directly. So if you are working, like most of us in a company where we have lots of different services and projects and repository, you don't want to duplicate similar step everywhere and to have to maintain them, which is a pain. So that way you can have a shared set of tasks and step, and you can easily reference them. So that's pretty nice.
Very nice.
It's similar to the Jenkins shared library, if you want, in a different way, but it's the same idea for people who are used to Jenkins.
Yeah.
So you can
every step is a separate container.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah. And so the interesting part is that maybe people who know a bit Tekton would say, oh, but there is already the Tekton catalog who can do that. Yes, the Tekton catalog is a bit different because it's for task only. So you can reuse task from the Tekton catalog, and the task is a group of step, and it's a pod directly. So sometimes if it's too high level and you will want something more granular, with the steps directly, because otherwise you will have a pipeline that will be composed of 50 pods, 50 tasks or 50 pods. So it will take longer to bring everything up and so on. So yeah, depending on how you want to design your pipeline, this can be an interesting solution.
Okay. So how does that relate to metrics? So you have this Tecton pipeline that's running in Jenkins X, and you're also gathering metrics in Jenkins X. Where do the pipelines come in related to metrics?
The idea is that we're trying to know how long it takes, part of the metrics we are collecting is how long it takes to run the pipeline. For example, the unit test pipeline or integration test or something like that. Because sometimes the classic issue is that you will get developers getting longer and longer builds of their pipeline. And at some point they say, okay, it's enough. Now my unit tests are running in half an hour. Like a few months ago, it was 10 minutes, and you don't know what happened, but slowly it gets bigger and bigger. So the idea will be to measure that so we can know when we have a negative impact on the pipeline. And we can also have a threshold, so we can set up alerting. So with Grafana, you can set up alerts and you can get a notification in your Slack channel for your team, for example, telling you, okay, the unit test pipeline, for example, is taking more than 10 minutes. And you will know that, okay, now maybe we should start having a look at that before people get completely disabled by the pipeline. And,
Great. So putting together a whole stack like this with metrics and a database and a dashboard, it's all fun and gathering all these metrics, but you need to have an overall design for it. And what you're saying is that are you saying like the space-based acronym and that methodology is probably a good place to start to drive the goals? That's where we were doing at Dailymotion?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So it came not at the end because we were never finished, but it came pretty late for us in our work. But I wished that article had been published like 1 year ago or more. Because maybe we'd have done things a bit differently, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But it sets a very good ground to understand and to set steps in motion for how we want to go forward. Yeah. And I think one of the most important thing is that previously we kind of see it at least at Dailymotion at two different tracks. So we had some people working on the satisfaction part of this framework, but that was completely unrelated to the metrics part that was done differently using collecting data from the metrics, from the system.
Yep.
And once you start getting all that together, I think it will be interesting to see how we can benefit from it and how it will correlate or sometimes not. And maybe we'll see that in fact we're collecting the wrong metrics or
It's not just about looking at one metric. It's about looking at multiple metrics as a team and then unifying that together to create a picture.
Exactly. Yeah, nicely said. Exactly, to get the big picture. And then the output of that is not only to get a nice dashboard that you can put on a screen in the office that nobody will look at because nobody came to the office for 1 year.
Right.
But it's to get to set that up for continuous improvement. So as I said, one of the important features of Grafana is that you can set up alerting with it. So I had my example about the unit test, but we can set that up for a lot of things. For example, in our workflow, we're using a GitOps workflow. So and we have a workflow where each pull request gets automatically released. So each time we merge a pull request, it automatically creates a new release of our application, which gets promoted to staging automatically. So deploy to staging. And we have a manual deployment step for production. And not all releases are deployed to production because sometimes, you will just add more unit tests or add some documentation. And basically there is no much interest in merging that to production right away. So usually it's just wait for another change to go to production. And sometimes we have a change that don't go to production, and so we can have an alert to say, okay, you have, for example, a release that's been waiting to go to production for more than 2 days. You need to start doing something and so on.
Mhm.
So that's the kind of thing we can do. And to improve, basically, yes, the goal is to improve the workflow and the overall
Yeah.
productivity of the system of the team to get a smooth developer experience and
And
to get
it's
business to get value for the business at the end.
and it's important to point that out too. This is not a tool for management. This is a tool for the engineers that are actually doing the work to give them
Yes.
feedback. Right? This is
Yeah,
not,
I think yes.
right? Not
Yeah,
meant to
it's
be
more.
a data point for their annual review. This is right. Yeah.
Well, it can be used by everybody, but yeah, I think it's more important if the developer use it, if the team use it, because it's that way they can appropriate for themselves the tools and the workflow
Mhm.
and improve it. And yeah, if at the end they can have a good efficiency and do their work without being blocked by the system. Like we have so many developers around the world that are just taking a coffee every hour because they're waiting for the build to finish or for something to deployment to finish or something like that. So if we can just be able to skip that and
Right.
get less
Find the
coffee
friction and get rid of it. Yep.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the goal, and continuous like the whole continuous delivery is about getting things to production faster.
Yep.
And yeah, we can, and with continuous improvement and so on, so we can just implement that to our own continuous delivery platform, so that we can improve it regularly and yeah, instead of waiting 6 months where everybody is fed up of the system and you say, okay, we need to replace it.
Yep. Good. So you have a good success with it. Anything else you want to share with us? Do we cover everything?
I think we covered everything. Yeah, it's a good.
That's a good introduction. It's space, not space, but space acronym for measurements. The reason I said space because I do some architectural work, and we talk about space-based architectures for especially Kubernetes. It's an architectural pattern to do with Neil Ford and Mark Richards does a book on architectural patterns called space-based. Well, completely different. This is space, the acronym space. That covers about a way to do metrics and to measure it on specifically a Kubernetes cluster. And Vincent, you were able to, at Dailymotion, not only think about what space-based metrics is, but put together a full stack of, with Jenkins X, with a Postgres database, with Grafana, writing Go modules that collect all the metrics from these different points and then bring them all into a solution. And all that work is really not about just doing the work and having fancy dashboards. It's really about getting that information back to the developers so they can find the frictions in their DevOps pipelines. And you've been able to do this at Dailymotion, so we can watch more cat videos.
Yes, exactly. That's the most important thing at the end. So it's also for the ads, so we can get money to pay for the servers to host the cats.
yeah, exactly. Great. Well, Vincent, thank you so much. This is a really good explanation. It's nice to talk to you because you're in the trenches of it. You're figuring out how these things work with your team, and it's really nice for people like you to take what you're experiencing in your daily life and then give that back to the community on this DevOps Summit. It's really helpful. So I really appreciate your contribution. And your contribution, you're an avid contributor to open source projects in your hobby life, right? Aside from your Dailymotion life and your other career work, but you're also contributing a lot to open source. So that's always appreciated. So thank you.